it was sort of a fad, like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet instead of like change your life. Those are two different things. I was pre-diabetic. I was prescribed cholesterol lowering medications, in general, heading down the wrong path. The primary thing was coming to the realization I couldn't do it myself. I tried to do it in fits and starts over, many years, get in shape, fall back out of shape. I was probably in some ways looking for an easy way out. It took me 6 months to realize there's really not going to be any easy way out. He's constantly checking in on me. He's constantly, wanting to see progress. He's wanting to know where I'm at. You have working knowledge about so many things with regards to fitness, so many different areas and as a resource for me to be able to ask questions and get thoughtful responses. I used to buy smaller stuff, and now I can actually fit in it. And the stuff I'm throwing out that used to be tied on me, that's now I'm swimming in it. I think that my knowledge and my understanding of nutrition now is so far and away different than what it was before. I'm able to affect change with my family. It really is never too late if you have the right coach, because you can't do it yourself.
All right, Warren, well, thanks for joining me today, man. It's great to see you. Today, I just wanted to kind of walk through your transformation with Core Elements, your results, what you experienced, and hopefully there's something in there that people watching can relate to and get something from. Sound good?
Great to be here with you and happy to share my story. Yep.
Amazing. So let's just start with kind of just tell me about yourself generally, work, family situation, lifestyle. What's keeping you busy right now?
Yeah, so I found you in Core Elements about a year and a half ago, a little less than a year and a half ago. I'm 55 years old, and I am married with 3 kids, and I am a business owner, so that takes quite a bit of time. And at the same time, I try to be pretty active. I'm a former college athlete, so there's stuff in my DNA, I guess, going back, as far as the activity and a lot of the things that I've learned that I'm sure we'll talk about. That's this sort of hardwired into me that had to be or rewired for a 55-year-old man versus a 15-year-old boy. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I live in in the Northeast of the United States. So, the weather can be kind of iffy, crappy at times, but being active is one of my primary goals, and always has been. And so, yeah, things in my life keep me busy with the kids and with my business. And, I think over time I sort of neglected myself, and had to come to the realization with your help that got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of anybody else. So, primarily, I think that's one of the main things that I've learned and tried to achieve over the last year and a half. So,
And before we started working together, what would you say was the most challenging part? You mentioned time constraints. I know you have kids doing many different sports all over the place. You go rucking on the weekend with your friends. Like, these are all incredible things that we need to keep in the picture. But what for you was kind of like that big sticking point?
well, I think that I didn't have the energy to do those things. So, the adding the rucking back in, or starting rucking, with my friends, that's something that's relatively new that I've tagged on to my activity schedule since, now that I have more energy to do those things. So, but one of the things this sort of led me, to sort of, a watershed moment where you've got to sort of, as a middle-aged man, got to make some hard decisions, or either you either do or you don't, and
Exactly.
keep following down the path of least resistance. And like I said, from my background of having an active background, but then losing that over time and wanting to get back to that. And I think the primary thing was coming to the realization I couldn't do it myself. I tried to do it in fits and starts over, many years, get in shape, fall back out of shape. This whole yo-yo sort of merry-go-round of, tagging on weight, cutting weight, getting semi-fit, losing the progress and not having it stick, and his frustration more than anything else. And then, coming to the realization that as a coach, I'm in the tennis business. I coached tennis for many years. I'm in the business side of it now, but understanding a coach needs a coach sometimes. I mean, understanding what a good coach can do for you.
Yeah.
So, that was, and to be honest, I didn't really know what I was getting into, when I first started with you.
Okay.
Sort of took a leap of faith because didn't know you,
Yeah.
and didn't have any experience with you, but I just knew that I needed to, start somewhere. And, here I am, I'm still here and I'm thriving. So
Yeah. Some worked.
some works.
We'll get into the specifics here in a bit. Yeah. And so was there anything like you mentioned kind of like that yo-yo cycle? Was there any like significant health setbacks or injuries or anything that kind of affected your ability to kind of get this thing going before we had kind of met?
Yeah. They were carrying extra weight and still trying to be active, playing racket sports, and skiing are my primary, activities. You're constantly dealing with overuse injuries, carrying extra weight, and
Yeah.
again, that leads back to the whole, merry-go-round, hamster wheel sort of, concept. You get injured, you lay off, you gain weight, you try to take it off, get more active. You're not in shape enough to continue to do it at a high level, and you get injured again, and so on and so forth. So that's where I was, and on a, from a metabolic standpoint, I was, pre-diabetic. I was prescribed, cholesterol lowering medications, two of them. So it was just generally, in general, heading down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And so all of this came together at the same time.
Okay.
The medication, the pre-diabetic, diagnosis at, a physical in, I guess it was June, or July, before we started working together in July. And then the constant battle with the nagging injuries and things like that just,
Yeah. So it all kind of came together and you were like, okay, this is between the bloodwork and the injuries and the shoulder, it's time.
it's time to get a new, some new protocols and try to figure this out, or to build a set of protocols, I should say, because there weren't really any. It was just sort of, like you like to use the word intentional, and I use it now a lot, and,
I love
as
that.
well. And it's not, instead of being mindless about things, which is what I was doing. It was just sort of stepping through the day, mindlessly, and
Yeah.
not keeping track of the, of the day to day, which is, I've found is super important. I will never not do that again. So
Yeah, and it's like you think it can feel like it's going to be like this complicated plan that you have to execute when really it's just bringing some intention to those subconscious things that we tend to do on autopilot. So, it's cool to hear. And how long had you been stuck before we chatted that first time? You kind of
I think that,
that
I've been I've been really stuck for years. I mean, I can really point back to COVID and when I was turning 50, and, I remember just, during COVID, everybody was, well, not everybody. I don't think you were sitting around on your butt and doing
some of
nothing,
that.
but I did nothing. I put on a ton of weight. I was just, my business was struggling. Everybody's businesses were struggling. It was a depressing time. And I remember my wife, telling me, you need to go to the doctor. And I did.
Wow.
And that's when I was diagnosed with hypertriglyceridemia.
Yeah.
Um, so it was the very, very dangerously high triglycerides, one of the three pillars of your cholesterol readings.
Yeah.
And so, that was the first part of it
So
is
that was
going
like a
on.
moment there that,
That was a moment going on a medication. So
yeah.
you think, oh, I'm going to take a pill and I'm going to be all right now. And it just doesn't work that way. And while the triglycerides did, I mean, the medication worked for the triglycerides and it's actually gone way lower since I've started working with you and cut so much weight and, um, and just monitoring my lifestyle. But the medication did help lower them pretty quickly. And so there you think, okay, you take a pill and everything's going to be okay. And I just didn't want that. And I don't want that. I currently am still on medication, but my goal is to, over the next years, to get off of it
Yeah.
or or to reduce it a lot. So, but yeah, I think it all sort of started, when I was turning 50. Now it took another 4 years of me, doing what I spoke about before, which is sort of chasing my tail
Yeah.
to get to where I am now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so just do you have any specific examples of when you were chasing your tail? Like, was there specific things that you were trying? Like what had gotten you a bit of progress and then created that yo-yo? Was it what was going
Yeah,
on there?
I tried, man, I've tried everything. the that being a vegetarian, keto, you name it.
Yeah.
To varying degrees of success. Keto was very productive physically, I think, with
Yeah.
cutting weight, energy, and all that stuff.
And with where you are at with your blood sugar too, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean but then it wasn't, it was sort of a fad, like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet instead of like change your life. Those are two different things. And adopting a lifestyle versus just following some sort of, 30, 60, 90-day plan, that you're going to lose traction, lose momentum on. It's just scientifically proven that
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
have. So I would focus on it. I'd be able to focus for 6 months,
Okay.
and cut a decent amount of weight and then put it right back on. So there's no consistency.
Okay. And was that because things were unsustainable or there was no understanding of why, or did you get what?
I think you see the results, the initial results, and then you start to go into cruise control. Yeah,
Yeah.
it lulls you in a false sense of security that, oh, this worked. Now I can just sort of revert back to old ways. Like, I can never break 200 on the scale, and now I've broken 190.
Yeah.
Working with you, and I've cut over, over 30 pounds. So, when we started, it was 215, but it was not, no, it was higher. It was, for sure. I mean, like, I don't even think, I think I just sort of ballparked it, but I was probably 220,
Okay. Okay.
and I also, my first weigh-in was like, probably a week or a week and a half in
Yeah.
after I started with, so I cut a few weight pounds, but I was probably pushed to 220.
Okay.
And I've been as high, I think, as 223, 225, which is, I mean, that's an absurd amount of weight on, I'm 5'10",
Yeah.
and it's just you're carrying that amount of weight, but you still want to be active, you want to still go and get out there and do things. And it was just not possible. But dropping over 30 pounds and keeping it off, and you know not being perfect. I'm not, it's not like it's like I'm probably 80% perfect.
There you go.
And
That's all you need.
20% I'm not like I used to be with the other 20%, but I'm not, I'm enjoying my life. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not consuming me on a daily basis.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but probably why you've been able to do this for years now, as opposed to weeks and months.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Creating that pressure cooker of what I can't have all the time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think just I mean, I'll let you ask the questions, but
No, please.
I mean, but the I think the third question that you had that we were sort of scheduled to talk about, I started thinking about it, sort of what have I done differently, sort of the things that I've changed on on an intentional basis, and the attention to I mean, I think for me it's on a macro scale, it's protein, steps, and lifts,
Yeah.
and it's protein, steps, and lifts. Like I've always been pretty good with the steps, but you know, 10 to 15,000 steps. Get in the gym for 45 minutes to an hour, 4 days a week, and eat your protein. Eat 190 to 200 grams of protein a day, and that's sort of a starting blueprint, and then everything on down from there. With the food logging and buying a food scale, that a $15 food scale on Amazon that I use every day. It was the first thing I got. You guys told me to get, and I got it, and I use it religiously. Um, yeah, and but the most important thing I think of it, they're all equally important, obviously, but being reintroduced to lifting,
Yeah.
getting back in the gym religiously and building that as a non-negotiable. It as an older man, you just don't you lose muscle, and you've got to maintain the muscle.
Yeah.
And
Use it or lose it big time, especially at 40 and 50. Yeah.
right.
And was there any skepticism coming in, because like keto is a whole thing. Some of the fasting things can feel like a whole system. Was there any skepticism when you spoke to me around like how simple this was going to be, or were there any doubts? Like, I haven't actually asked you this before, so I don't know if there are, but were there any doubts coming from like the yo-yo, all of these things you tried, like
Sure.
how can this be any different? Yeah. Do you remember any of that? Can you think back to that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the first year asking for help is for getting a coach. And then you're like, well, how's this really going to work? I mean, because
Mhm.
just like any coach and player, is there going to be chemistry?
Yes.
And am I going to
Yeah.
buy into what you're saying, or not? And so you're taking a leap of faith there. And I will say, to your credit, just to glaze you up a little bit, is that, what I've noticed and what I've come to learn is that you really are when we say guru, like you have working knowledge about so many things with regards to fitness, so many different areas, and as a resource for me to be able to ask questions and get thoughtful responses. But you have a way of not pushing in, and letting the client come to you, at least um in my experience, is just
Yeah.
come to you, and that's the hallmark of a great coach. So yeah, did I get lucky? I mean, there hundreds and thousands of other people like you that are out
Yeah.
there.
100%.
So yeah, I do feel very fortunate that, because I mean, I'm definitely I would say a pleaser, but I'm not going to stick around if I don't feel like I'm getting any benefit. So I mean, the benefit has been tremendous, and on a lot of different levels, not just not just with the work, with workouts.
Incredible.
As a trainer, I look at you as sort of a health and life coach. So
Well, that's incredible.
there's a lot of
That means a
crossover.
ton. Yeah, that means a lot. And I do set it up in that way somewhat intentionally, so that um, it can be as personalized as possible. And I really want you guys to understand the principles, so that, what Warren does with the principles might be different than what another guy does with them, but you're still getting the benefit of the system. Um, So that's great. I appreciate you thinking back on that. We already sort of touched on intentionality. Was there anything that like, was that the biggest change for you as far as what surprised you or things that you were doing different? Or talk to me about that. Once we had started, what was like the biggest whoa or aha?
That, that's a good question. That when you really start to look at when you talk about intentionality, I think as it relates to, well, I think if I look at it in with regards to nutrition and the lifts,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the nutrition first, like really taking your time to understand what you're putting in your body on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And Chronometer has been and still is like, one of my best friends. Like
Yeah.
you really understand. You don't just you're not mindless about it. You're more intentional about what you're everything you put in your body, and that makes all the difference because you need that energy and you need that sustained energy to be able to get in the gym and do the lifts to build the muscle that you need to to get through life.
Yeah.
So, and then on the lifting side, the intentionality versus, mindless stuff. And I see this a lot in the gym now, like noticing other people and how they sort of, it looks like they're kind of haphazardly walking around and, doom scrolling on their phone, and then they'll bust out a set of biceps, and then they'll doom scroll to 10 minutes and then do some lat pull down, whatever. That, having the workouts that you plan for me and being able to follow them. And I wasn't good at this at first. I had to learn this over the first, 6 months. I was definitely not pushing myself
Mm-hmm.
with the weight. I was scared to push myself with the weight. I was checking boxes and doing that far too often, just checking the box as opposed to
Yeah.
really digging in and getting something out of it. And I think a lot's changed in the quality of the workouts. And part of that mindset is, why are you, that I had to tell myself is why am I spending all this time going to the gym if I'm not going to
Yeah.
lock in and really get as much out of it as I possibly can. So,
Yeah.
I think when we went to 4 days a week, also, and we had a coaching call and I talked to you about changing things up and how, specifically the left side of my body is not as strong as the right side. So we're, doing a lot of exercises now that focus on, independent strength on one side, on each side. And that's made a huge difference. So it, the change from the beginning to now in focusing on those little details, um, being intentional about that is really sort of a byproduct of, the whole, opening your eyes and living intentionally as opposed to just stumbling through and trying to get through the day mindlessly.
Yeah. And especially for someone like you who is already putting that effort forth, you already had feelers out, you're already trying to do things. Um, Part of the reason I think you did so well with this is because I just helped you aim that into, what's going to give you the most leverage. And so when you have, 20 kids all doing different sports and, you want to go skiing on the weekends and stuff, you can strip it down to, like you said, like those big things that are rocks for you. Um, and that's really how it starts to feel like a fluid lifestyle, right? And it's less me. At this point, you're learning yourself, and just from that awareness alone, about what different foods do for your body, what different types of training, how they make you feel, and that's just invaluable to be able to prove that to yourself.
Yeah, I mean it's been a amazing journey, and with adding in also understanding and learning about taking maintenance breaks, and
Yeah.
you know I'm just going into one now. I'm spent, I'm tired. I'm kind of shot a little bit right now.
Yeah.
And I did this, been traveling, been doing a lot of sports. I had this big tournament I played in, and I'm feeling even some effects even now from it. So, you know, listening to your body and being able to back off and but not quit, whereas before
Yes.
I do my maintenance break would lead me back to my original weight. So, I cut 10 pounds, be really active and be really good with what I was eating and get to the gym and all this stuff, cut 10 or 15 pounds or something, then I'd reward myself by taking, so I'm going to do a maintenance break, but the maintenance break would be 6 months and put the weight back on. So having, check-ins from a coach
Yeah.
to, to ask if I needed one. And I certainly did.
Yeah.
And I probably wasn't going to ask for one.
I know that about you.
Um,
Yeah.
and, maybe I did this time. Actually, I finally just like,
I mentioned it a couple weeks ago and you said no. And then I think you came back and were like, actually, yes. And I was like,
actually, yeah,
"Got it. Actually,
yes. So but having that, and then knowing
in your
that,
pocket.
it's a finite period of time, and then, I'm going to get refueled and recharged and, you know, get right back into, into everything
Yeah.
the same way I've been doing it before. So,
Yeah. Keeps you in the system.
yeah.
And before we started kind of bringing some awareness around the nutrition, did you have any, did you know what was going in your body at all on a day-to-day basis? I mean, you had, like, if you did keto, you know to remove carbohydrates and things like that.
Yeah.
Did you have a sense for that?
Yeah. I know the carbohydrates were really, really bad for my triglycerides. Is really, that was,
Yeah.
I think my understanding of fats has changed a lot.
Okay.
Whereas, I always thought fat, fats are just the, you can't, you just got to keep them out. So, um, I did have a good understanding of carbohydrates. Now, does that mean that that I was able to keep them out of my body?
You have a system for that. Yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
Um,
So the knowledge was there, but there was a gap there between you doing the thing. Okay.
yeah, yeah, just keeping myself on track
Yeah.
um, and food logging. I like the food logging is huge. Like,
Yeah.
it's just huge. Like, you on Chronometer, you set it up for me, and I have my macros, and I can see them throughout the day and see where I'm at. And look, if I'm at 20 carbs during the day, and I want a piece of sourdough bread, with my lunch, then okay. I mean, then I can throw that in there. So, not uh sort of starving myself or feeling like I'm not able to participate in life. But yeah, it's just been really interesting watching that transformation. And I there's no way I can really go back now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I mean, that's a good sign. Before you were falling off no matter what, and now it's like, hell no, we're not going back there. So that's a big shift there.
Yeah, and even when I do, fall, when we go into maintenance, and you get a little bit, if you get extra calories, you get extra carbs for a couple weeks, and you know that I'm looking at that differently. I was thinking about that when we first started working together, as, oh, here's my break, and just like, sit on my butt and do nothing and
Yeah.
and eat what I want. Now it's sort of like, now, you're giving your body a rest and preparing for the next push,
Yeah.
next phase. Like, I'm really interested to see where I'm going to get to with my body, more so. I'm focusing less on the weight now, because with the weight's cut and I feel good. I've lost, over 30 pounds. I've lost over 3 inches on my waist. My clothes, I'm probably going to knock off some, some extra pounds. So, I'm holding off buying new clothes. But there's clothes that I bought that I had for years that I used to buy smaller stuff as the carrot stick. And now I can actually fit in it. And
Oh, hell
the
yeah,
stuff
that's cool.
I'm throwing out that used to be tight on me, that's now like, just, I'm swimming in it. So, I don't know, I forgot where I was going with that, but,
No, it's great.
um, yeah, oh, I want to see where I'm going with my, my body,
Yeah.
structure, and the muscle definition of structure and size and everything. I'm really interested because I'm I feel like I'm doing much better in the gym. I feel like I'm starting to lift, starting to slide that weight up,
Yeah.
starting to go to failure more, push
Mhm.
myself, and you not be afraid of the pain, uh,
Yeah.
of getting in there and just, you know, embracing it, leaning into it. So,
Yeah, you're getting to know your body on a level that, some people don't. So that's
but it took a lot. It took time. It took time for me.
does.
I mean, I probably it felt like initially that I was gonna hire you as a coach, and you were gonna make everything. You were gonna snap your fingers and make everything better.
Ah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
without me having, I didn't really realize that you know, that I had to rewire my brain for the hard work that I used to do when I was younger, when I
Yeah.
was in college and prior to that. But so I was probably in some ways looking for an easy way out, and
Mhm.
took me 6 months to realize there's really not going to be any easy way out. He's constantly checking in on me. He's constantly, wanting to see progress. He's wanting to know where I'm at. It's like, you post photos of yourself and all this stuff. So you can't hide that stuff.
Yeah.
You can't fake it. But it's like this little drip method that, you're not,
Let's go.
you're not busting chops. It's not like
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
and not in that way. You're giving me the room to grow and breathe and, and
Yeah.
experience it myself. But at the end of the day, that mirror, uh, you got to look in the mirror and you've got to be true to yourself because you're forcing me. You force me to do that. And so that's the only way real change. If I'm doing it just for you, then it's not going to be.
Exactly. Exactly. And I
I'm
don't
doing
want
it to impress my coach.
exactly. And like that's again, that's why you've been so incredibly consistent with this is because you're not forcing yourself to do this because I'm looking over your shoulder. You're forcing yourself to do this because you see how it clicks into this bigger picture of how you want to look and feel. And I've made you shine a spotlight on, okay, you can either choose this or this, right? And you made the choice and you headed in that direction. And I think that's really what has allowed this to stick for you, right? That really intrinsic motivation and I'm just giving you the structure and this shit. I mean, it works, man. It works over and over again. But the difference is guys that have that mindset and guys that don't. And that's really it comes down to that in you deciding how you want to live your life. And I can give you the framework all day, but you need to decide that.
And I think I mean, it's very well said. And I think that for me, in my personal experience, like it's sort of tracked, the first 6 months of us working together sort of tracked how I was living my life, that
Hmm.
you give it all for 6 months and then sort of slowly make your way to the exit. And,
Yeah.
but
Peter out.
I could, I couldn't do that. I still had to, you were for there, you were forcing me to be accountable to myself. And, at the end of the day,
That's it.
that's all you
Back to the
got.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. And,
So
it took time to break through that for me.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a powerful thing for people to hear, I think, is that once you decide to do the thing and you sign up and you start with me on Monday, like that's the begin
That's the easy part.
that's the yeah. Well, for some people that is the hard part, but yes, that like
Yeah.
now now you've made this decision and you need to keep that promise to yourself, right? Um
Right. And
so
shifting and like, going sort of, repeating what I said is making that left. Initially, the decision's made about me, and then it's about, impressing you. And then it's about me, you know, sort of transitioning over to impressing myself and,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and, and taking ownership of it. So that's sort of the phase that I'm in now, a year and a half in. That it's probably been in that zone for, I'd say, 6 months. So,
Really well said. You borrow mine until you until you learn to use your own. That's perfectly said. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Um Okay, so we got like 3 or so inches off your waist. We're down over 30 pounds. Other than the measurements, was there anything else that popped out to you? We've already covered some of this, but um, energy, anything else around your lifestyle? I don't want to put words in your mouth that you feel like has really shifted. There's no right or wrong here.
Yeah, I mean the energy for sure because I 4:30, 5 o'clock in the Northeast in December. It's dark. You're driving home from work. It's raining, and before I just wanted to get home and I wanted to lay down. And more times than not, I will stop at the gym on the way home, just 5 minutes, before I get home,
Yeah.
and I'll hop on the treadmill and I'll walk 30 minutes. And um that's just something that I would have never done before. And I don't even have to think about it. It's not something that I negotiate with myself over more times than not. I'm not going to say that, it's 100% like that, but you know, th- that's that's a huge change. I think another huge change is that when we go back to what I was talking about before, that you've got to help yourself before you can help anybody else. I think that my knowledge and my understanding of, nutrition now is so far and away different than what it was before. I'm able to affect change with my family. So, as far as what I buy, what I cook, what for them, and so it's all scaling. I'm scaling myself to be able to help my family in the ways that I think are the most beneficial to them.
Amazing.
You know, uh, Being active with more active with my kids, and not doing it because I feel like I need to, because I want to, and
Yeah.
um,
That's
making
perfect.
them food that is nutritious and helps them get through their busy day. And so being a provider, that's one of the things too. One of the really unspoken things that I was dealing with, was that I was not happy with, was how I was providing for my family financially. Yeah, that's yeah,
One box.
yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Sure, that's one. But I was doing that, and that's pretty much all I was doing. And
Yeah.
um, or driving a car. I drive you to here, there, and everywhere, and I bring home, income and
Yeah.
pay for your activities and pay for bills. But um, just being a part of my kids and with my relationship with my wife is so important to me. And
Yeah.
um, it's all of those things are ancillary benefits of rewiring
Yeah,
your
that's some
system, your
that's some
protocols.
powerful trickle down for sure. And
Yeah.
I think I don't know if we've had this conversation, but I hear, we talk a lot about like legacy and leaving a legacy and what that looks like. And like you said, a lot of guys are very focused on not their health legacy, whatever that is for them, right? And there's no good or bad, but leaving leaving that for your kids is just, I mean, you just gave me the chills. So that's something that no one else can do that. There's no one else on planet Earth that can do that besides Warren. So um, that's an incredible bonus, I guess. In life.
It's an incredible responsibility, and not knowing how to improve in that area of my life. And all of these things just led to, when you're in that sort of mindset where you're struggling and you're trying to find things that work, and you don't feel like you're providing the right way for your family and all this. So making that call, and following through with it, and changing myself first has led to spectacular benefits, I think,
Yeah.
on down the line. And
Yeah.
just want to build on that, and and continue to to get to get stronger myself, so I can be
Yeah,
strong
be
for.
able to shape
Yeah,
that for your kids and your family, man. That's what it's
yeah,
all about.
sure is.
Um, so just switching gears here just a little bit, as a business owner, how did this style of kind of responding to the data and creating a system around these things, did that kind of naturally fit into the way you were doing things, or did that feel new applying that to this part of your life? Was it terrible at first? What was that like?
You know, I'm sorry.
No,
Sec.
go for it, go for it.
You okay?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
sec. I'm back.
No worries.
Um, yeah, I think my bit in business, it was probably I wasn't the best business partner. That was also not, and it was also adding to my, anxiety, my sort of feeling of self-worth and all of those things. Um, it all, I mean, it all centered around my health and my well-being. So, fixing that has fixed my, I think, I think it's fixed my relationships with my family. I think it's fixed my relationship with my business partners, with my employees, being more engaged and active in running the business, and
Yeah.
um the the success of the business is has definitely, I can see a track in a positive track in the success of the business also, since I started to change. I'm more engaged, I'm more active, and
Yeah.
um yeah, I think that it just in all aspects, all areas of my life, that
It's trickled over.
it's improved. Yeah,
Yeah.
100.
And so coming from this place now where you kind of have more of a bird's eye view looking past back at the year, was there any point in time where you were like, this is it? Like I just I blew it and I'm too old and it's just this is just how it is now. Was there any of that snuck in and um
When we since we've been working together.
either since we've been working together or before you met me? Um Either way.
Oh yeah, for sure. There were,
Yeah.
I mean, but there would be those moments, and then I get off the map because, I think one of my strong traits is I'm a fighter. I mean, I'm resilient. I'm a
Yes.
fight. I'm resilient,
Yes.
and whether I mean, if I'm failing, we're gonna keep fail. I'm good at just,
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, hell yeah.
getting get off the mat and fail again and fail again. I mean, I've done a lot of that.
How important
Well,
was that failure to can is there any perspective on that failure looking back as far as the kind of avoiding failure versus like, okay, let's go fail 20 times. So,
yeah,
okay.
I'm not, I'm pretty immune to failure. So, just
That's a
trying
superpower.
things. Yeah, I think that for me, that, I was like, I wasn't putting all my stock in, working with you and with Core
Yeah.
Elements, and instead just, um, I, but I'm always hopeful. I'm always hopeful, even if there is failure attached to it. I've had a lot of success in my life too, but
Yeah.
would have never had the success without obviously the failures, and learning, trying to learn from them. So, you know, you could fail 100 times, and then you get it right one time, it changes your life. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but failing without feedback can be extremely frustrating. Whereas failing with a system and feedback is enlightening, right? And so that's a big difference there. And being able to respond to that failure and use it the next time you're in that situation. I mean, that's how you get to where you're at now, man. That's you build it like that.
yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, it's this whole process for me is a metaphor for my life, and, and it's fun to be able to, I will say, with all the failures I've had in life, the successes far outweighed it. There've been far fewer successes,
Yep.
but they've been far more fruitful successes, and this is clearly one of those examples where,
Yeah.
I had numerous failures physically and, with my health over, many years, and then to feel like I finally, not that I've won. I mean, this is, it's, you put it best, like, the goal is the process,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I always come back to
adopt
that.
adopting that mindset is, you know, the goal is the process, and it
Your whole life is a process, right? You just continue.
just continues, and
Yeah.
you never, you don't win. It's not a win or lose thing. It's a continuous, ever changing um thing. So
Exactly. Exactly. And so, kind of on a similar note, and maybe you already said this, but what would you say now to someone who's kind of, maybe before they've met me and they're in that somewhat hopeless state, whether that's mental or from physical injury or whatnot? What would you say to that person kind of feeling stuck or hopeless, having this perspective now?
I would say it's you got to find a good coach. It's hard, if not impossible. I mean, it takes a very special person, very ultra disciplined person. I thought I was one, and I think that that's why I resisted for so long, like getting a coach to help me with these things, because I had, uh, as a kid growing up, playing tennis, living in a tennis academy, going playing D1 ball, all those things, like those processes. I was like, I felt like if I can just go back to when I was between 15 and 22 years old, I was ultra, you know, focused and organized and
Yeah.
about my sports, everything. So if I could just go back and find out I was fit, I could get back to that. But you can't do it without a good coach. And I was lucky to find a good coach. And I'll say that small changes all add up. One of those, just making those small changes, and those changes become your habits, and they all add up to, and they become your daily protocol, what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
I know, like, even it takes a lot of patience sometimes, and for myself too. And I know there are a couple times when you're like, I'm stuck or whatnot, and we were kind of bumping up against that patience a little bit. So it's nice to hear that it's all, seeing the big picture here.
yeah, and I think the last thing is it's never too late. So it doesn't matter if you're, you know, 30 or 70. I know you work with clients that are, some that are older, and, big respect, because it's not, I mean, I'm sure it just gets a little bit harder and harder as you get older and you get more set in your ways to break to break that cycle. And, but it really is never too late if you have the right coach, because you can't do it yourself.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, the last thing is just, I was going to ask you what advice you'd give to someone, but I think you just covered that nicely there. Is there anything else that you want to say, that we didn't cover, that you wanted to mention before we'll hop off? I really appreciate you sharing some of this.
No, that just that this has been the last year and a half has been, the the biggest, learning journey of my life. And I've lived abroad. I've learned languages and gone to school abroad, and traveled and lived in many different places. And so I've been exposed to a lot of different, uh, a lot of different stimuli to learn from. But this last 18 months has been, the biggest learning journey of my life, and it's been fun. It's been hard. Um, but it's been completely worth it. And, I think it's changed my life forever.
That's
So thank you.
incredible. I mean, it's in a selfish way, that's what fills my heart as well. So that just means a ton to me, and it's just awesome to see you crushing it, man. And um, I think if there's a theme from today, it's you decided that you wanted this, and then you did that for yourself, right? And we made it possible through some systems and some principles. But incredible to hear the perspective, and this is something that not many people do, and so it's extremely powerful. I can talk about this stuff all day, but to hear it from you is is amazing.